Okay, so here's the team I ended up going with from the last part. And yes, I have Metatite in the front of my party. This is going to be very, very fun. Okay, so let's continue our spelunking adventure. I'm still gonna keep the part at the start of this cave in because, well, one, it makes things less confusing, and two, not even I know where I was last time. So yes, the joy of post-commentating on past footage here is that I've got no clue where everything is in this cave. So I just have to hope that past me knows what he's doing. But I want to try and get most of the items here. I can guarantee you that none of the other dungeons in this game are this confusing, with the possible exception of one of them. Okay, here, if we're encountering a trainer that we haven't battled yet, it's probably, someone... We're probably going in the right direction, basically. Because it means that we've gone in a direction that we haven't gone before. Anyway, another Lotad and a Whismer. Yeah, you've barely improved since the very beginning of this game. Let me just check Mantine and Metatite. I guess a moment of truth here on how quickly I purify. Okay, so Metatite purifies decently quickly just by being sent out into battle. Mantine, not so much. Something that I didn't know about, and of course Hyper Mode, something that I actually forgot about Mantine is that it got a pretty sizable buff to its HP stat in Sun and Moon. It went up to 85 base HP. Also, yeah, that is Metatite Shadow Rush. It's incredibly powerful. Don't know why that Mischievous didn't faint to it, but it almost did. I feel like that was a damage roll. It probably could have fainted. I just got unlucky with the roll there. To those who don't know, the damage formula in Pokemon is ridiculously complicated, and it involves a random number. So, speedrunners often refer to that kind of thing as getting a low damage roll. Sometimes there's something that speedrunners call a damage range, which is where you have the potential to 1-hit KO a Pokemon, but it's not 100% certain. Wow, I probably hit a bad damage range on both of them. Okay, well, at least things are starting to miss with Supersonic again. But both of these should be gone quickly, and then it's time to deal with his third Pokemon. Now, I think I remember the name of the next trainer who has a Shadow Pokemon, and I don't think it's this guy. Well, there's one Lotad down. Never really used the Lotad line very much in this game, personally. Didn't someone already have a Slackoth recently? But yeah, never really used them very much myself, because I had Ruby back in Gen 3, so C-Dot was my version exclusive. And I used Shiftry quite a bit. I ended up liking Shiftry a lot. I mean, Ludicolo is a pretty good Pokemon as well, I just never really used it all that much. Again, thanks to not having Sapphire originally. Metatite is not wanting to go into Hyper Mode very much, which is definitely a good sign. Covered. This is a move that I've always actually kind of liked because I've associated it with Zigzagoon a lot, and you know how much I like Zigzagoon. But yeah, having a same type attack bonus item stealing move on a Raccoon Pokemon, it plays into the Sly fan in me, so that was pretty awesome. Also, being physical helps because, yeah, Thief is special in this gen. I like how it's depicted in this generation, though. It's like a sort of magical swirl of dark energy stealing the item. Well, at the very least, you're probably not going to get punished because we're going to take down your boss before he can do that. Well, yeah, I guess we're pretty lucky. And he was only guarding a dead end, so I guess I was wrong about going the right way. One full heal. Full heals are decent, but only one of them, not so much. Also, yeah, I finally realized to take the Twisted Spoon off of Metatite, but I didn't give it to Espeon. What was wrong with me? Really, that's incredibly bizarre. There's no reason for me not to give it to Espeon. And going down here, we get into this area, which has flowing water, and we're actually not in a cave, and the areas are a little bit more straightforward. But, like I was saying, I know the type-boosting items are only 10% in this generation and not 20%, so they're not as useful as they are in later games. But still, Espeon currently I don't think is holding an item. There is literally no reason for me to not have it hold it. Aha! It's you, Ryder Sosh. I remember your name very clearly because it's a dumb name, and because I like to remember the dumb names of people who have Shadow Pokemon. And since we already have a Shadow Flaffy, I think you know which is the Shadow here. Unfortunately. So let's go Mantine and Meditite. Mantine's already got a decent amount of heart gauge fills. Oh joy, a Shadow Dunsparce. That's just great. Yeah, get used to it. Second gen doesn't have a lot of particularly strong Pokemon. Second gen's an interesting one for me because overall, the Pokemon introduced in Gold and Silver are my least favorite batch of new Pokemon in the series, thanks to the vast majority of them being pretty bad. Finally, it's your turn to go into Hyper Mode. But I guess it's going to mean you get High Jump Kick faster, and that's always a good thing. But yeah, I do really like Gold and Silver as games, and I really like the Johto region. It's just that its selection of Pokemon is not all that good, and I should probably switch Mantine out. I don't know what I was thinking for keeping it in play against a Mareep. So let's go ahead and do that. Also, going to bring my Sleep Inducer back in. I think past me at this point was deciding to really stick with, it's not a Jump Off yet, but Skiploom for my Sleep User rather than Noctowl. In many of my, well, in my only early playthrough, I use Noctowl pretty extensively, so we'll see. I may end up using Noctowl a bit more later. Oh, great, Glare. Okay, that's good. At least Glare has less than perfect accuracy. Also, we see Cotton Spore here, which in Generation 5 was buffed to affect both targets in a double battle, which would make it very effective in this game. But sadly, it's not the case here. But yeah, Glare paralyzes you. It's probably a reference to, and there's the yawn kicking in. But I can always call you out of that. Guess I can finally demo Call Curing Sleep. I had someone wondering whether or not that even worked in this game. They thought it was XD only, but no, it's in Colosseum too, which makes Awakenings completely pointless. So yeah, never buy Awakenings. Ever. That was probably what I was trying to say back when I first showed the shops in Fennec City. I spent a long time on the shop screen. It was probably because past me was planning to talk about how Awakenings were useless. But, right, let's just focus on... Probably want to get that Mareep out of the way. Mega Drain is not going to do very much. Wow, that is absolutely terrible. 40 power stab move. Don't you just love it when that's your only option? And more Cotton. And it missed entirely. And Hyper Mode. Well, this will give me my first move, which unfortunately is Calm Mind, which doesn't really help me all that much. I mean, it does help Meditite tank special hits, but it's not going to even have any special moves for another bar of the heart gauge. And even then, it's not very good at using special moves in the first place. Dunsparce always had a funny damage animation to me. But anyway, I think I was saying something about Glare. Yeah, so that paralyzes you. And it's a useful move because, unlike Thunder Wave, it can paralyze ground types. Although Dunsparce could also use Body Slam to paralyze things. Although I'm pretty sure that was a Fire Red and Leaf Green tutor-only move in this generation, which means that at this point in the series, Dunsparce didn't have access to it, and I don't know why I'm going for a Pokeball right now, but I won't question it. If I get lucky in this Snags, it'd be pretty funny. 1, 2, 3. Dunsparce get! That was very lucky. Dunsparce. So, there's a TV trope called junk rare, which is basically where something is rare, but not very good. Dunsparce is the Pokemon equivalent of that. Its main claim to fame is that it's fairly hard to find in most games that it's in, but it's not worth searching for. Apart from pretty good HP, all of Dunsparce's other stats are bad. And while it does have a pretty good move pool, it's just not enough to make up for that. Dunsparce, throughout the history of the series, has always had exactly one thing going for it, and that involves the Serene Grace ability. Yeah, don't have Runaway, because that's useless. Serene Grace doubles the chances of any secondary effects that moves have. Things like secondary paralysis, or burn, or poison, but this includes flinching. The only way I've ever seen someone make Dunsparce useful is using Glare to slow the enemy down, and then spamming Headbutt and hoping the 60% flinch rate combined with the paralysis just annoys your opponent to death. Unfortunately, there's one major problem with this when it comes to Colosseum. For some reason, Headbutt is an egg move for Dunsparce in this generation, so the Shadow Dunsparce you get can't use this strategy at all. Nice try. Among its moves, Takedown is meh because it's an attacking move on Dunsparce, although really anything on Dunsparce is meh. But Glare and Yawn are both decent moves in their own right. It's a little bit redundant to have both together, though. Glare in particular is an alright move because it can paralyze ground types, unlike Thunder Wave. Spite is... you're not going to be winning any battles in this game by draining PP. Really, you aren't. Don't try it. Other than that, Dunsparce has access to a lot of TM moves that do benefit from the added effects from Serene Grace, but still, I would not recommend using Dunsparce. It's just not a very good Pokemon in general. Sorry. Something that I should mention is that Dunsparce is based off of a fairly obscure Japanese mythological creature called the Tsuchinoko, which actually shows up in a few other Japanese games too. I know there's one in Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, which has a pretty funny enemy, I was about to call it enemy dex, but that was what it kind of is. It has a pretty funny description in the enemy log in that game. But anyway, the Tsuchinoko is kind of like Japan's equivalent of Bigfoot, in that it's an animal that many people have claimed to exist, but there's never been any evidence for it. There have been a lot of claimed sightings, but it's never really been able to be backed up. But supposedly it looks like a very small, fat, snake-like thing. It looks exactly like Dunsparce, basically. And, that's pretty annoying that I got paralyzed from static there. Still thinking about if I do ever get around to doing my Pokemon Black 2 no experience run, I'm probably going to have to rely on just catching a Mareep and just setting that against Cheren and just hoping static kicks in, because yeah, he has level 14s and the best level I can catch is like 7. I think my only hope is to spam counter on Riolu and hope that he doesn't use Work Up too much. But yeah, that's going to be for later. Okay, hopefully this shouldn't KO myself. I actually really like Metatite Shadow Rush animation. And so, goodbye Mareep, and I believe that defeats Ryder Sosh. It is definitely one of the stupider names in this game, and that's saying something. And she also refers to herself in third person. I know I shouldn't be making fun of her, but yeah, I feel really, really bad for her. And now she's back to referring to herself normally. That's kind of bizarre. But yeah, let's go across this long bridge. I hesitated for a little bit because I thought there might be a trainer over here, but good news is, there's a healing machine and a PC. Yes, I no longer have to go all the way back through the cave, through the Pyrite building, down all the stairs, to the PC and healing machine there. But there's something over there. I believe that's the end of this area. For now, I want to explore a little bit further because we have stairs here. And hi, Rui. Rui wants to demonstrate the stairs, or Misty Jr. And I'm going to go ahead and save here because I've caught a couple of Shadow Pokemon. But yeah, Misty Jr. is wanting to demonstrate the fact that there's stairs. Yeah, she's kind of... You know, now I think about it, she reminds me of a Xenoblade party member in her AI. Yeah, they could do some really stupid things sometimes, especially when it comes to climbing. Okay, we got a Roller Boy here, and he's looking at us funny. Okay, so either I've already battled him, or he's one of those you need to... Nope, he just has a short sight range. I'd say it's the other way around. Roller Boy Evans. That's actually not that stupid of a name. Waltard and Lombre. Gee, I wonder what the theme of this dungeon is. Yeah, get used to seeing these, but at least they've started upgrading to Lombre. Like I said earlier, Lombre is another Pokemon that just had a very bizarrely... just didn't learn very many good moves in Generation 3. Although Fake Out is decent. Okay, now I'm expecting a Fake Out. So who's going to take the Fake Out? Okay, no one took a Fake Out. That's pretty good. Also, I'm surprised that did that much. Mantine's attack is terrible. It's the equivalent of Wurmple's, which, yeah. Although, admittedly, Wurmple has not bad attack for a first stage Pokemon. Or, at the very least, not bad attack for a first stage early game bug type. Base 40. Which is also the same as Nosepass. And I think Onix? I know Onix had a terrible base attack stat in, well, not exactly in the earlier games, it always has a terrible attack stat, but in later games it evolved into Steelix, so... Mantine is doing that again, but Metatite seems to be not letting me down. That's a good sign. I should also mention, this is before Metatite gained gender differences, where its ears were... I think the ears are higher up on its body if it's female in later gens, but in this generation there were no gender differences, so Metatites all look the same. Actually, speaking of all look the same, something that I should probably bring up at some point. So, the question on a few people's lips might be, can Shadow Pokemon be shiny? Yes, they can. In Colosseum. In XD, Shadow Pokemon can never be shiny, so don't try hunting for shiny Shadow Pokemon in that game. But in this one, okay, that's going to be super effective on Meta-types. One of the few times Astonished actually KO'd something. But yeah, in this game, Shadow Pokemon can be shiny, but here's the weird thing about it. Shininess is calculated separately both before and after the Pokemon is purified. So it's possible to catch a Shadow Pokemon shiny, and then have it revert to being normal after it's purified. And conversely, it's possible to have a Shadow Pokemon be normal, and then become shiny on purification. This is because, I think the reason for this, I read about this on Bulbapedia a very long time ago, so I could be wrong, but I think the reason for this is that Shadow Pokemon officially gain your trainer ID when they're purified, and shininess is calculated based on your trainer ID as part of the formula. So yeah, that's basically how it works. Well, at least Meta-type fainted really close to a healing machine, but I can use this opportunity to let some other Pokemon get some purification. I was about to say experience, but, well, I mean, I guess technically they are getting experience, but yeah. But anyway, if you wanted to know why whether Shadow Pokemon can be shiny, that's why. See, I'm getting this sense of deja vu. I just can't shake the feeling that I've been here before, but I also think I haven't. So that guy. Yeah. I know there is one more Shadow Pokemon in this cave. And I think I'm going back to heal. Oh no, I'm going over this bridge to show that this bridge actually doesn't lead anywhere. But we get a nice preview of a couple of item chests. Now I'm healing. Okay, so we're back, and let's see what I end up doing. I end up fighting this guy. Well, I mean, if you're under orders to battle people, you're no different to everyone else in this area. Right at Derrid. Now, that doesn't sound like a Shadow Pokemon owning name. And it doesn't look like it is. I'm pretty sure... Well, I mean, I know neither of these are Shadow Pokemon. But hey, there's Shuppet. I don't know why, I just find Shuppet kind of an interesting Pokemon. Man, in some ways I actually find it cool in its evolved form. But, I guess it did have this mysterious value to me because I think playing Ruby... It was kind of a case of semi-version exclusivity, in that you could get both Shuppet and Duskull, no matter what version you had, but one of them was more common, so I believe Duskull was more common on Ruby, so Shuppet had this, just the value of being much rarer. Yes, speaking of semi-version exclusivity, there are a lot of interesting Pokemon, well, in some of the games, you had some Pokemon that, also Yama really likes calling, but yeah, you had some Pokemon that the base forms were version exclusive, but you could catch their evolved forms in the wild regardless of version, or the other way around. Version exclusivity was weird sometimes. And Shuppet's doing the tongue sticking out thing, which a lot of Ghost-type Pokemon like, because that's a favourite tactic of Ghastly as well. Oh, it's Bite again. I know what I'm going to be doing. Ignoring you! Yeah, Bite is a lot worse in double battles than it is in singles, because you just have a complete choice as to whether to completely avoid them. Except the thing I just realized, though, is you could use Bite to bait out a double target, and then use Protect or something like that. But that way you're wasting the Bite, because that Pokemon is still not going to be taking damage. But anyway, goodbye, Shuppet. And a coughing. Yeah, you are very original in terms of Pokemon. I will say, though, that the trainers in Colosseum and XD, especially the members of the evil organizations, they have a lot more variety in their teams than your average evil organization in a Pokemon game does, so that I appreciate. It's something that a lot of people appreciate about this game, actually. It's part of why Cypher are one of the most popular evil teams in the series. Although I remember that Black and White 2 Team Plasma have a lot of variety as well. I mean, they do kind of tend to use a lot of poison and normal types, but they do have a lot more variety than many evil teams. Yeah, I had someone tell me that Sludge is actually pretty much a mid-tier damaging move, that the lowest tier damaging move in Poison is Smog, which makes sense, I guess, but a lot of Pokemon learn Sludge as one of their first moves. Also, Mantine is pretty severely, I'm saying severely a lot in this playthrough, I just realized, but yeah, Mantine's in danger. I should probably switch you out. Okay, into Metatite. Probably won't be able to one-shot that Pineco with Metatite, though. Pineco is pretty defensive. But I'm well on my way to getting a few heart gauges up. And speaking of more smokescreen, well, not more smokescreen, but I forgot what smokescreen looked like in this game. That actually looks pretty funny. Lowered accuracy on Metatite would normally be a really, really dangerous thing, but I don't have high jump kicks, so that's fine. Oh yeah, by the way, high jump kick hitting a protect counts as it missing for the purposes of crash damage, so you want to watch out for Pokemon with protect when you're using high jump kick. Especially in this generation Blissies. There's a battle CD in XD that involves facing a Metachan with a Blissey and having to use protect when it uses high jump kick and it one-shots itself. Oh great, Metatite is gonna be pretty much unable to do anything. Because sadly Call doesn't raise accuracy when you're curing Hyper Mode. In fact, I forget if it raises accuracy at all in this game or if that was just an XD only thing. Yeah, so many of Yanma's moves. Like, something kind of interesting about Yanma is its gimmick is that a lot of the moves that it learns are sound-based, which actually makes it useless against Pokemon with soundproof, but that is good later on when they added much better sound-based moves like Bug Buzz, but at this point, Yanma is just restricted to things like Sonic Boom, Supersonic, Uproar, which also apparently got buffed to 90 power in later generations. I had no idea that it did, because that should tell you how much I use Uproar. I mean, it's not a very good move overall. You're locked into it for several turns, and Ghost Pokemon can just switch in. Again! At this point, I should probably be as angry with Yanma as I'm with Misdreavus. I still can't believe that I haven't even taken Misdreavus out of the PC yet. I was that mad at it for what it did to me in its first episode, which is pretty funny. But this Pineco is being completely ineffectual, so yeah, well, I wouldn't give a Bug Buzz at this point. That would completely wreck this thing. Okay, Yanma now has its final move, which is Uproar, which it used against us to block sleep in its first... and Metatite's gone into Hyper Mode. Yeah, it is an annoying feature of Colosseum that I'm just kind of starting to rediscover now. Yeah, regain Calm Mind, which is kind of useless. Well, I'm going to use Uproar here, even though it's not special in this gen. But I think that means Metatite has regained Confusion. Still isn't the best, though. That didn't do that much. Now, I forget if you're allowed to switch out of... No, you're not allowed to switch out of Uproar. Just found that out the hard way. But this Pineco is probably gone. Get out of the way, trainer who was ordered to battle me like Mirror B. You were clearly ordered to do that just to waste my time. Yes, ridiculous like that battle was. Go away, please. The trainers here aren't giving me very much money. Yeah, that's actually kind of smart. Technically speaking, he wasn't ordered to win. So, it's okay. I was about to wonder if Past Me finally realized about the Twisted Spoon, but no, looks like he hasn't. Or does he? Doesn't look like it. Just currently. I mean, I could just go back to the healing machine right now. I don't know why I'm doing this exactly, but I guess I wanted to leave less for me to cut out in the future. So yeah, there is a downstairs there, but here, there is also a downstairs. This place is confusing. I think those go where we need to go, though, and the stairs back, I think, lead to those items. So let's hope I'm right about that. Of course, we have someone else to battle in our way here, another hunter. Which someone pointed out that they're probably supposed to be bounty hunters. I guess that makes sense, but... Hunter Zalo. Aha! I think you are a Shadow Pokemon trainer. I remember that name. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's you. So he's got a Swablu and a Lotad. Again with the Ludicolo line. So once again, sending in Mantine and Yanma. Mantine should be regaining a move pretty soon, and Yanma's almost ready to be purified. By purified, I mean taken off my team, because it's kind of bad, but anyway. And yes, Swablu is a Shadow Pokemon. Now, something about Swablu that I didn't know until I made its bio, Swablu has a full 255 catch rate. I don't know why it does, and also its evolved form has a much lower catch rate, so that's kind of weird, but Sonic Boom might be nice for weakening Shadow Pokemon, I just realized, but yeah, you could throw a Snag Ball right off the bat and have a very high chance of catching it. I believe at a catch rate of 255, a regular Pokeball from full health has something along the lines of nearly 25% chance to catch, which is pretty good for a regular Pokeball from full health. And goodbye, Lossad. Lossad's another one of those Pokemon that has a comically short cry. Beldum! Yeah, you're probably wishing this was the Shadow Pokemon. Beldum is pretty amazing. Well, there goes Swablu. As you can see, it's actually still flying there, which is pretty cool. Although I believe, I'm not sure if this is actually the case in this game, although I think I'm remembering right that it actually is. Noctowl using Fly looks really silly in this game, I think. Now, when we see Swablu actually come down from Fly, we'll probably do a pretty silly animation. Yeah, okay, it's just standing in midair, and I guess that animation's fine. Probably should be switching out Yanma, though. But yeah, some of the fly animations in this game look pretty dumb. I guess, you know, now I think about it, I'm really glad Beldum is not a Shadow Pokemon, because it's got a catch rate of like 3, doesn't it? Which in this generation, well, I would say that, but spoilers. Normally in this generation that wouldn't affect anything, because you can only get Beldum by receiving one from Steven, so you wouldn't be able to catch it in the wild anyway, so its catch rate wasn't used, but oh boy, when you could find it in the wild in black and white, they were extremely annoying to catch. In fact, I'd rank Beldum as probably one of the hardest Pokemon to catch, period, because not only is its catch rate stupidly low, its only move causes recoil damage. So you can't false swipe it, really. Anyway, horrifying memories of trying to catch Metangs in later generations. Yeah, putting those in the wild was, I mean, partially a good thing because I like having access to Metagross more easily, but a bad thing because of how painful they are to catch. Well, Espeon came in at kind of the wrong time. But, well, at least we have Espeon here, and I just realized that Espeon is a terrible matchup against that Beldum because Confusion is double resisted. But Return is weak enough to be useful for weakening that Swablu. At the moment, I'm trying to get rid of this Beldum. Also, I love how it flies all over the place when it gets hit. Although a lot of Pokemon in this game do that. But yeah, fly animations, I feel, didn't really get fully refined until, I think, Pokemon Battle Revolution, where they were a lot smoother. And you actually saw the Pokemon flying as opposed to just standing in midair. Although, did Bounce still... I know that in this game, Bounce looks really stupid. Bounce basically has the Pokemon just levitate itself statically up into the air and just stand in midair. Yes, some animations worked better in the handheld games. Okay, now it is starting to get a little low on health, so I need to watch out for Shadow Rush, but I am almost certainly going to catch it in the first ball. Let's quickly finish you. What? Okay, am I throwing a ball? Yeah, I am throwing a ball. Please tell me I didn't use a Great Ball. Okay, that's good. You know, I probably would risk a Premier Ball here if I knew about its catch rate, because normally I don't like using Premier Balls all that much, because they only have the effective as a regular Pokemon. While they look cool if a Pokemon is caught in one, Swablu gets. Swablu is a very interesting Pokemon. It may not look that impressive now, being your fairly typical normal flying type, but at only 2 levels after purification, it'll evolve into Altaria, which becomes a dragon type. Now, before it got a Mega Form, Altaria was generally considered to be one of the worst fully evolved dragon types in the game. As a dragon flying, it's completely outclassed by Dragonite and Salamence. However, Dragonite and Salamence are not catchable in this game. So Altaria is one of the best dragon types by virtue of being one of the few you have access to. In its own right, Altaria is definitely not bad. It's got good resistances for being a dragon type, a decent move pool that can work with both physical and special moves, as well as good support options, and a good amount of bulk on both the physical and special side. Among the moves it starts with, Sing is very unreliable at only 55% accuracy, so I'd recommend using Knockdown or Skiploom when it comes to a sleep user. But if you don't have either of them available, Swablu and Altaria make okay backup options, I guess. Safeguard also helps for team support, and Fly for both same type attack bonus and stalling. It gains Mirror Move on Purification, which is a very weird option and probably won't work all that well in double battles, because here it actually copies the last move that was targeted at you from anyone on the field. This includes spread moves if your partner used one, like say Earthquake, but it is very difficult to control which move exactly you copy with this, because you don't choose a target for it. Now, as for level up moves, I'm doing something interesting here and only listing the levels for Altaria, because Altaria's move pool is pretty different from Swablu's. It'll learn Dragon Breath immediately on evolution, which is an okay option, but the main thing you want to be aware of is Dragon Dance. Altaria is the only Dragon Dance user in this game, and with its bulk, it can feasibly set up quite a few of these and then dish out some serious damage. At higher levels, you also have Perish Song, but I think Mischievous is better at using that because it actually has a trapping move. Oh, and I originally listed Refresh here, but then I realized it's kind of pointless since you already have Natural Cure. As far as TMs go, if you want to go with Dragon Dancing physical route, you can go for moves like Earthquake. While if you want to go special, you can go for things like Flamethrower, and interestingly enough, Ice Beam. Altaria is one of the few dragon types that get this, and it can be a kinda decent anti-dragon option, because its lack of same type attack bonus is kinda made up for by the fact that it'll be hitting for 4 times super effective against most of them. Overall, Altaria is actually a pretty good option to use in this game. Anyway, while they look cool if a Pokemon is caught in one, the chances of actually catching something in one is quite low, and you usually don't have many of them. But it's at least better than those rare balls in Sun and Moon only being given to you 1 each. Was it too much to ask, and did that just just recall itself to death? This is, yeah, half the reason why Beldum is such a pain to catch in the wild. And hey, Espeon's final level 30, that's nice. Swift. Sadly, that's physical, and it hits both targets in the double battle, so it's going to be very, very weak, and I already have Return, which is a normal move that is actually not quite twice as powerful, but still a lot more powerful. And it's still using Espeon's weaker attack instead anyway, so definitely not going to go for that. Mantine has spent most of this battle in Hyper Mode, hasn't it? I get the feeling that Espeon will probably go down, though, because I don't think I'll be able to... No, definitely I won't be able to one-shot this Lombre, and it's probably going to smash Espeon. Yeah, if I get a low number of hits, which I did, maybe I'm going to survive this. So, if Mantine doesn't go into Hyper Mode, a double target will probably take this thing out. Moment of truth here. Does Mantine go into Hyper Mode or not? That seemed to do more than the last turn. Of course it did go into Hyper Mode. Moment of truth here. Does Lombre KO Espeon? Probably yes. Yeah, they know all about Astonish being effective against Psychic types, so... I'm sorry, Espeon, but you can blame that one on Mantine. If you hadn't gone into Hyper Mode, you would have survived that. So I'm probably going to have to go back to heal. But thankfully, the machine is pretty close. Well, at least it's getting the heart gauge up a bit more. Purifying all the Shadow Pokemon in this game is kind of an arduous task. They improved it a lot in XD by giving you the Purify Chamber, which let you basically have Shadow Pokemon purifying automatically on the go while you do other things. Kind of like Pokepelago, but for Shadow Pokemon, basically. I mean, there's something similar in this game, but it's not nearly as effective. I also ruined all of your hopes of using an Altaria. I probably should heal. But I don't think there are any trainers down these stairs. Okay, so Yanma is completely finished in terms of heart gauge. That's good to know. I forgot what nature it was, though. But anyway, down here we have... I believe there should be a couple of... No! These aren't the items. Maybe that's the other way then. And that's a dead end. This might actually be the way we need to go. Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah, the boss is through there. So let's not enter there just yet. I need to go back, and I'm probably going to need to go back to heal too. Or am I checking out the other area now? I think I am checking out the other area. Because I'm pretty sure this is where the items are, and I don't know how many more trainers there are in this place. Seeing as I'm... Also, sorry, Mr. Jr. for leaving you behind there, but you teleported to me. Actually, I know there is at least one more trainer in here. Actually, at least two more trainers, because I know that there's one that uses the Cypher battle theme, and you are not a Cypher member. Over here we have... another trainer who's... Okay, so at least three more trainers. And at this point, I should probably heal. Or am I just going to use items, because I'm lazy? I think I'm going to be lazy and use items. Yes, I was lazy. There aren't any more Shadow Pokemon left in here, though. Which is good, because I think this trainer seems pretty... not exactly with the rest of the gang, and... Huh, maybe you should... Maybe I should introduce you to Wider Willy someday. You two would have a lot in common. Oh, I wish I had High Jump Kick now. I really wish I had High Jump Kick. And thank you, Mantine, for having Bubble Beam. That's going to be way more effective than Shadow Rush in most cases. Sadly, though, Mantine in this game doesn't have much in the way of good moves. Well, good safe attack bonus moves. And wow, that did a lot more than I expected. Because other than Bubble Beam, the only option you really have is Water Pulse, which is by level up. Oh, hey, well, at least you have a Linoon. That's better than what Rider Willy is like currently. That's not going to get me High Jump Kick, though. That other bar of the heart gauge. This is kind of worrying if that Linoon has... Yeah, I call it Linoon sometimes, but yeah, if that Linoon has something to hit hard with a normal type move against Metatite. Pin Missile. Well, at least fighting resists bugs, so this isn't going to be super effective. That probably wouldn't have KO'd if it had hit 5 times, but I'm not sure. Wow, Mantine is hitting these things really hard, but that didn't KO. That was probably a damage range. Don't hit Metatite, please. It's hitting Metatite, of course. But it only hit twice. I'm getting kind of lucky with these multi-hit moves in this session. What am I doing? Please switch Metatite out past... Past me was really... I don't know, he just... often had no qualms about sacrificing his own Pokemon. But let us use the Bubble Beam again. Remember back in Gen 1 when Misty gave out the TM of Bubble Beam, and this probably won't do very much. Well, at least it will do the... I think I did that to avoid recall damage, actually, now that I think about it, but yeah. Misty gave out Bubble Beam. Of all things, Water Gun was also a TM in Generation 1. Why did I use Shadow Rush? I'm a complete moron. Bubble Beam would do more in almost any situation. But yeah, I remember back in Gen 1, my friends were all like, oh, hey, Rattata can learn Bubble Beam. That's really great. Teach it to it. And I taught it to my Rattata and used it, and it did practically no damage. And back then, I didn't really know about the concept of different physical and special moves, really. But I mean, I was 6 years old, so could you really blame me? The early days of Pokemon when I was a child and really gullible. I also didn't raise my Pokemon all the way to level 100 because I was told that Pokemon died of old age when they reached level 100. So yeah, my first ever Pokemon are not actually level 100. I think the first generation where I ever got anything to 100 was actually Gen 3. Even though I played Gold and Silver and Crystal a lot. Like, I would just get random Pokemon and just train them up in the Mount Silver grass. And just do that with pretty much anything. That was pretty fun. I'd do that while I was waiting in places like my dad's work or things like that. Okay, so here's the items that we got a sneak preview of before. So what do we have here? 1 protein, 1 iron. So I think I can tell what these all are. Zinc and carbos. If I'm remembering right, zinc was actually newly introduced in Generation 3, because I think in Gold and Silver you just had calcium, and that boosted both special stats, which wasn't an issue back then because there was no cap on the amount of, well, they weren't called effort points, they were called stat experience, but there was no cap on them, so you could max out every stat, and that's probably the reason why they changed it and made zinc in this generation, because here, having a vitamin that boosted both, boosting both of those at the same time, kind of interesting. Looking at some battles explaining how the competitive formats were like back in Gens 1 and 2, I didn't realize just how many Pokemon were affected by the change to effort points. Because a lot of mixed attackers were much better, or at the very least it was much easier for, let's say, physical attackers to run Fire Blast for Skarmory, because they would all have maxed out special attack by default, as well as attack. But in later generations, you couldn't do that, because why would, let's say, Taurus bother with maxing its special attack, when it could just be maxing attack and speed? I do like the change to effort points. It makes you have to think a bit more about the spread, though I still wish that earlier generations included some kind of tutorial for how it worked. It was kind of strange how the developers put that mechanic in, and yet never really explained, and yay, dumb AI. Never really explained how it worked. Until Gen 6, basically. Even then, Generation 6 doesn't do a very good job of explaining it. Actually, speaking of which, the official term of effort points in the series is actually base stats, and nobody knows what the official word for what most fans call base stats is. But we continue to call normal, the actual, like, regular stat values of most Pokemon. We continue to call them base stats because it's just an old habit and it's hard to change it at this point. So, I wonder who first created the term effort values as well. I know that you do get like something called the effort ribbon for getting all of them. Also, there's a Teddiursa there. It is not a Shadow Pokemon, sadly, for a lot of people. I know my sister loved Teddiursa when she was younger. I think it was her favorite Pokemon, actually. We both made, like, wow, Mantine is hitting surprisingly hard with that. I guess because 80 base special attack is decent for this point in the game, and having a stab water move of 65 power is actually quite good. Oh, I missed some pretty vital dialogue from her. I'm guessing you're talking about Juking's Plusle. Oh, how right you are. Okay, there's a Cypher trainer around here. I guess I am going to battle them. Yeah, so, strictly speaking, a lot of trainers in this place are optional, but in every Pokemon game that I play, I like to always battle all of the optional trainers just to get experience, or in this case, heart gauges. Guess I can't really rely on Water Absorb to heal me all the way, so I have to use some items to help me. So, I'm pretty sure this is a total dead end, and this trainer mocks you about it afterwards, but hey, it's a Cypher Peon. They have cool outfits, I guess? And cool music, too. Lileep is also a fairly interesting Pokemon. Not that we'll be getting a Shadow Lileep in this game. But yeah, what I was saying before was that me and my sister used to have, like, gym leader teams for ourselves. She had things like Teddiursa, Pikachu, a lot of the cute unevolved Pokemon, and I had, like, Mewtwo and stuff. Mewtwo, Charizard, I think Gengar. Yeah. I was a pretty stereotypical Gen 1er. But then again, Gen 1 was the only generation I knew back then, so could you blame me? But yeah. You know, actually, come to think of it, I think I was the champion in my fan-made Pokemon region when I was like 6, which wouldn't surprise me. Don't know if I've ever mentioned that random, like... like, I never wrote anything down, but I still remember in my head a kind of a quasi-fanfiction that I had when I was that young and playing Pokemon, and, I was the biggest Gary Stu of all time. I know this is pretty much totally irrelevant to this battle, but, anyway. But yeah, I'm sure I've said this at least once before, like in another video that I've done, but for those who haven't heard this story, I made myself a trainer who became a Pokemon trainer at the age of younger than 10. This is back when I still thought the anime's rules were how the games worked, and it's evidently not because there are preschoolers who are trainers in Gen 5, but anyway. I became a Pokemon trainer at younger than age 10 because I was just that good. I started with Charmander, and in Viridian Forest, it did an enormous fire attack that destroyed the entire forest, knocking out every single wild Pokemon in there, gaining enough experience to immediately evolve into Charizard right there. And also, I died and came back to life at one point. And I think this quasi-fanfiction was literally called Pokemon with me instead of Ash. Even thinking back on it. It is like the biggest Mary Sue fanfiction, well, one of the biggest Mary Sue fanfictions of all time, but I guess a lot of young children just do that, and even a lot of teenagers do that. It's just kind of what you do when you're an amateur. I hesitate to say writer, because I never really intended to write anything. It was just something that I had in my head when I was playing playground games. But yeah, it's always funny looking back on yeah, silly things that you did when you were younger. I still can't believe that I remember all of it now. Like I said, I never wrote any of that down. But it still sticks out of my mind for how dumb it was. I guess it's part of why, you know, like... I guess I can't really get that mad if someone's first ever fanfiction is a blatant self-insert who's blatantly overpowered like that. Well, I mean, I suppose... Not really. It's all a matter of really the intent, I guess, because if you're that young, you really don't really have much of knowledge of how the story worked, and you really... I don't know. It's not like you're consciously writing a better version of yourself to make yourself feel good, like a lot of actual fanfic writers do. Well, I mean, you sort of are, but I mean, because you're a child, it's kind of to be expected, and that actually did kind of a lot of damage. Anyway, I should probably not be going on my quasi-philosophical ramblings. I should be focusing instead on this battle, where everyone is poisoned for some reason. I think I remember this trainer. I'm pretty sure that she afterwards mocks you for falling for a dead end. But hey, anything to hear this music. Although we'll be hearing this a lot more later in the game when we start fighting just entire dungeons full of Cypher peons. That's not really much of a spoiler. So it's kind of funny how Mantine always has a Remoraid attached to it in this generation, and in fact in every generation until I think 5 or 4. I forget which was the first to change that. I'm discovering that... Okay, that barely did anything. I think I got a critical hit before. I must have. It's some kind of rule that Poison Sting always poisons you, and I should have switched Umbreon out. Again, past me was very, very callous with my Pokemon. Of course, Acid's not going to be doing very much to Mantine. Well, actually, it's physical. It's not special like it is in later generations. Oh, and it is a double hitting move. I forgot about that. Umbreon's probably going to faint to Poison now. Yeah, faints to Poison. I'm sorry, Umbreon. That's probably... You know, come to think of it, I think this is the first time Umbreon has fainted this whole game. Actually, wait, outside of the battle against Justy that I cut out, because I'm going to show that later. But, yeah, because I don't remember seeing Umbreon's fainting animation any time earlier, so that's pretty impressive. It's a testament to Umbreon's tankiness. Bulbabeam would probably be doing quite a bit to Lily now that I think about it, because it's, and I think a past me realized too. Yeah, because it's rock grass, which is kind of a bizarre typing. I remember that back just before X and Y came out, there was a rumor that there was going to be a rock grass boar Pokemon. And also a ghost-type spider. Which I honestly would have preferred to the vast... Anyway, I kind of wish those existed. Don't really want to rant too much about Gen 6, but yeah, I didn't really like X and Y all that much, thanks to it not introducing very many new Pokemon at all. Yeah, I feel like Shadow Rush is going to be doing slightly more than Confusion would. I think Lilip is roughly equal on both defenses. I know Credillia is roughly equal on both defenses. And considering how close this video is to the end, I'm sure this is the last trainer that I end up fighting in here. So, Lilip has been toppled. No, it isn't a fluke. I just like exploring every nook and cranny of places like this. But, okay, let's see if the line comes now, if I talk to her afterwards. Yeah, I remember this! Okay, we'd better quickly run. Also, we're poisoned. Because it looks like, and this is a generation where your Pokemon can still faint outside of battle if they're poisoned, but there's no trainer standing between us and the healing machine, so it's probably fine. I'm so sorry about this, Mantine. You're probably going to faint in the... There we go. Right there. But like I said, no other trainers here, so we have a safe run back to the healing point. So I'm going to go back there, and that's where I'll be ending this part. Pyrite Cave took quite a while, due to me wanting to battle every trainer in here, but there's some random trainers who have dialogue that sticks out in my mind, and that one does, just for the fact that they have the audacity to mock you for falling for a dead end. But anyway, heading on back to the healing machine, and next time, we'll actually be taking on our first boss fight. Justy doesn't count because, well, I almost called him a she there, but yeah, he's optional. But yeah, there's a reason there's a healing machine and a save point here. We're gonna need them. So, next time it'll be time to liberate Duking's Plusle, and in fact, liberate all of Pyrite Town from the tyranny of the Disco Lord. So, I shall see you again next time. Let's see who I end up bringing to the Disco Lord's battle. Also, here's Swablu and Dunsparce. Dunsparce ended up being female. And I'm going to put a couple of my Pokemon in the Dun box. So, Yanma is finished. Skiploom is also finished, but I probably still want Skiploom. Guess I should mention now, you're going to be facing a lot of water-type attacks in this next fight, so Pokemon that resist water are a good idea to bring. Pokemon with Water Absorb are even better. So, who do I end up using? I feel like I ended up using Knockdown now I think about it, so let's see if I end up... Yeah, I'm going to be bringing Knockdown to this fight. And I suppose I'll use Mantine for Water Absorb. If Mantine has Swift Swim, you can actually turn one of the enemy's tactics against them, but that's just a quick preview. So I'll see you next time. End.